menyala.
Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Pada hari ini kita ada episod khas yang mengisahkan mengenai kehidupan dalam berumah tangga. So kita ada kisah mengenai sebelum, semasa dan selepas perkahwinan. So 3S ini.
Okay.
Kita bersama Coach Cerai, Encik Izari Iqbal. Terima kasih kerana join kita punya sesi podcast pada hari ini.
Assalamualaikum, sama-sama. Terima kasihlah datang ke sini.
Alright, kita berada di set kita pada hari ini. Kita berada di rumah tuan lah.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Alright, seterusnya kita ada Encik Zafrul Nordin, merupakan CEO kepada My Sakinah. Terima kasih kerana join.
Terima kasih kerana jemput saya kepada podcast ni, dan thank you kepada coach.
Sama-sama, alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Kita semua hari ni.
Alright. Dan kita juga ada CEO Tiljana, Encik Khairul Fadli. Terima kasih tuan.
Ya, terima kasih. Terima kasih juga kerana mengundang saya pada hari ini.
Okey. Alright. So, kita nak ucapkan terima kasih kerana bersama kita di dalam sesi podcast pada hari ini yang dihostkan oleh Tiljana, My Sakinah dan Cerai Coach. Alright. So, basically kalau kita dengar kan, pasal rumah tangga ni biasanya makcik-makcik bawang. So kita ni hari ni apa? Pakcik-pakcik bawang ke apa?
Makcik-makcik bawang. Duduk meja bulat, makcik-makcik bawang.
So kita ni orang kata dah go through kepada professional level lah. So macam mana coach?
Okey. Kita pun makcik bawang juga. Kita membawang lah hari ni. Boleh?
So alright. Baru-baru ini kalau kita tengok beberapa hari yang lepas, kerajaan telah mengeluarkan satu statistik mengenai kadar penceraian. Lebih kurang 53,000 pasangan ataupun kes penceraian telah berlaku di antara bulan 1 hingga bulan 9 tahun 2025 ini. So ini merupakan angka yang sangat orang kata mengejutkan lah. So tanpa membuang masa, mungkin kita boleh serahkan kepada pakar-pakar kita di dalam bidang relationship ni. So saya serahkan kepada Encik Zafrul Nordin dari My Sakinah untuk terangkan sedikit mengenai statistik.
Okey, terima kasih. Saya ada prepare beberapa nota lah. Saya akan refer ke nota saya.
Right.
So saya rasa statistik ni yang dikeluarkan, dia punya backdrop. Last month Selangor ada release statement yang sama.
Okay.
Dia kata Selangor adalah kes perceraian yang terbesar, dapat kat 10,000 kan.
Tinggi juga.
Tinggi juga.
Paling tinggi di Malaysia.
Dan kita tengok ratetan daripada tu, bulan ni Mahkamah Syariah telah keluarkan juga statement yang 53,000 pasangan dah bercerai. So kita dah bertanya lah, itu yang saya reach out kepada semua orang, kata what's going on, kenapa jabatan-jabatan ni dia keluarkan statistik ni, right? Sebab kalau kita tengok dari segi DOSM, DOSM dia akan keluarkan setiap bulan November kes perceraian tahun lepas.
Alright.
So
Department of Statistik Malaysia lah.
Statistik Malaysia lah, Department of Statistik Malaysia kan. So persoalannya, kenapa jabatan-jabatan ni tahun ni dah sampai bulan 9 dua-dua keluarkan statement ni. Selangor keluarkan statement ni, Mahkamah Syariah pun keluarkan statement ni. Dia tak tunggu DOSM. Sebab statistik 2025 by right, DOSM akan keluarkan, kita akan tahu total dia tahun depan, November tahun depan. 2026. Kan? So
November tahun depan
baru kita akan tahu total untuk 2025.
Selalunya macam tu.
Macam tu. So macam data yang tahun lepas, yang November 2024 adalah kadar perceraian 2023. Tapi dia cover semua lah.
Alright.
Berapa orang berkahwin, berapa orang bercerai, dan juga Muslim dan non-Muslim. Tapi data yang kita ada, news yang kita tengok kan sekarang ni, kat media sosial pun orang duk bercakap ni, dia tentang Muslim sahaja. Dah keluarkan statement ni kan.
Angka yang merisaukan juga tu.
Betul. Sebab saya buat sedikit perkiraan lah. Kalau kita tengok daripada dia punya trend dan trajectory, kalau kita ikut kita trend dia, by December kita akan hit 70,000.
Kalau kita buat prorate ataupun kita buat average, lepas tu kita darab 12.
Kita darab kali sampai bulan Disember, kita akan hit 70,000. So saya study juga kadar perceraian Malaysia ni, daripada even sejauh 1970 kan? Dan even the last 5 tahun terakhir, kita punya total negara punya perceraian ni tak pernah, saya sekali je dia mencecah, dia tembus 60,000 in total. So kalau this year
pecah rekod lah.
Pecah rekod. Muslim saja pun pecah rekod.
Muslim
dah pecah rekod kan.
Muslim saja pecah rekod untuk total perceraian.
Total perceraian.
Itu belum campur dari orang kata agama lain.
Ya.
Betul.
Wow.
Sangat merisaukan.
Sangat merisaukan.
Drastik.
Jadi saya rasa kalau perceraian, kalau kita ikut average pun dalam 5 tahun yang terakhir kan, memang 80-85% memang Muslim punya perceraian lah.
Okay.
Jadi yang non-Muslim tu dia tak sebanyak Muslim punya divorces.
Alright.
Tapi ditunjukkan peningkatan juga tak?
Trend.
Untuk agama-agama lain ni?
Agama-agama lain ni dia punya peningkatan tak setinggi yang Muslim ni lah. Tapi kita tak tahulah sebab kita tak tahu kadar perceraian untuk total untuk 2025 ni sebab dia tak keluarkan kan.
Yeah.
Cuma kalau kita tengok mungkin ada beberapa tahun masa COVID tu dia ada dip sikit.
Betul.
Kadar perceraian ada dip sikit lah. Dia kurang sikit sebab dia kata orang kat COVID tak boleh masuk ke mahkamah.
Ya, betul.
Jadi dia tak file.
Alright. So kira data yang ada ni dia adalah based on mahkamah lah.
Dia memang sekarang ni based on mahkamah. Dia bukan daripada
perceraian orang kata di depan mahkamah lebih ramai ke?
Saya tengok dia punya data ni ada majoriti memang dia kena bercerai kat mahkamah.
Okey.
Saya rasa percentage yang kecil je dia bercerai di luar dan dia tak file.
Alright.
Dia kata kahwin tak bergantung tali
Yeah.
Saya lupa that term tu kan.
Yeah, betul.
Dia biar je, that means dia dah bercerai, dia hilang je.
Alright. So memang data yang ada memang daripada Jabatan Syari'i,
Mahkamah Syariah.
Mahkamah Syariah punya data.
Dia memang akan datang daripada Mahkamah Syariah.
So memang kira legit lah data ni.
Confirm legit lah.
Memang tinggi tu. Memang kena do something lah.
So memang rasa ke dia release awal ni for a reason? Memang memang rasa macam tu ke atau apa? Kalau ada, apa reason dia?
So saya pun tertanya-tanya lah kan. Apa sebenarnya apa sebab punca kenapa dia release datanya awal. Dan kenapa dua jabatan yang berbeza. Satu daripada Selangor, satu daripada saya rasa seluruh Malaysia. Dia release data ni yang dalam jangka masa yang terdekat ni. Paling few weeks apart lah orang panggil kan.
So mungkin orang kata nak beri kesedaran ataupun mungkin diorang nak start. Orang kata kementerian boleh rangka something, boleh keluarkan bajet. Mungkin persediaan, mungkinlah, tak tahu.
Saya tengok juga artikel tu. Maksudnya jelah kalau for a reason mungkin dia release awal macam ni cakap kan. Imran cakap kan, dia release awal untuk kita macam trigger lah untuk dia macam so-called wake up call untuk kita kan. Baca artikel tu juga tapi sampai ke habis artikel tu nothing new initiative yang dinyatakan.
Solution tak ada.
Tak ada. Ingat dia jalan sekali. Dia bagi alarming punya ni, lepas tu dia ada bagi tahu ke sepatutnya ke ataupun dia akan perkenalkan apa, saya rasa tak ada.
Dia memang bagi kerisauan.
Mungkin artikel tu tak cover benda tu ke apa kan. So
dia jadi satu kegusaran lah. Awam.
Ya, sebab kalau dibiarkan then kita boleh predict lah benda tu kan. Sekarang sampai September banyak tu, kita boleh predict daripada awal pun sampai Disember banyak dah kan. Memang agak tinggi lah. Kalau tak ada intervention lah.
I think also to say that the tone of the reporting is just purely reporting. It doesn't make it seem as though it's an alarming satu benda yang dirisaukan ke apa ke. Dia report je.
Tapi report tu dah merisaukan lah.
Itu kalau kita yang membaca lah. Tapi cara dia menulis tu, dia tak kata benda tu merisaukan dan ada langkah yang patut diambil ke apa ke. Tak ada. Benda tu tak ada. It's just a reporting. And that's a very good question that you're asking because kenapa dia bagi sekarang ni kan? Dia letak aje, dia campak aje info tu dekat kita. Which is very interesting.
So macam ada solution ke apa ke orang kata.
Tapi saya ada tertanya juga kan. Kita walaupun betul kan kata walaupun kita report dan research kan. Dia kata benda ni dia tak alarming. Right? Dia tak macam tak alarming kan. Dan saya rasa kalau orang pasangan-pasangan yang baru nak berkahwin ni, kalau dia tengok data ni pun, saya pernah pergi bertanya tau dekat khusus perkahwinan ni semua kan. Tak ada seorang pun percaya yang dia akan bercerai. Walaupun dia tengok data 53 orang pergi bercerai ke apa benda kan. So macam katalah kesedaran tu macam tak sampai kuat kan. Macam this not us, ini orang lain kan. Kita still jannah ni kan.
Ini tanya waktu kursus kahwin ke?
Masa macam saya office dekat Taman Tun. Saya selalu ke masjid Taman Tun khusus. Dia every Saturday Sunday dia memang khusus memang penuh. Ada je orang berjalan-jalan kan. So kadang-kadang kita pun take advantage. Saya tanya
tak, waktu kursus kahwin tu kemuncak cinta. Jangan cakap pasal bercerai kan. Itulah kemuncak rasa cinta, rasa sayang kan. Lepas dah kahwin barulah start, oh ini rupa sebenar apa semua kan. Kalau tanya waktu tu memang kita confident.
But I think it's also the reality of a human nature kan. Letaklah orang sakit jantung lah dekat kotak rokok sebagainya. Orang sebat juga rokok tu kan. It's the same thing as well, right? You can send out statistics of cancer and whatnot. People don't change their lifestyle. I think it's just human nature. And I think you say banyak orang, that's such a unique thing that you just said, that kebanyakan orang memang dia tak bajet pun yang dia akan cerai. Tak ada orang pun yang kahwin yang memang nak cerai pun. Right? I think banyak orang kat luar pun dia tak percaya dia akan mati pun. Kan? But that's the reality of life, right? Banyak orang macam tak apa, later lagi, dia tak rasa yang benda tu akan jadi kat dia. And that's normal. I think it's
tapi interesting tau. Kalau you rasa kan orang first time kalau berkahwin, dia tak rasa dia akan bercerai. Tapi yang saya percaya, orang kalau dah berkahwin, dah bercerai, kahwin balik, second time dia kahwin pun dia tak percaya dia akan bercerai lagi.
Macam mana kot?
By the way, the statistics is even higher. 50% of all new marriages today will end up in divorces. That's a standard statistics. Malaysia tak keluar sangat. Dia data memang saya cuba cari tak ada, tapi they can give a general statistics throughout the world is about 50%. 50% daripada semua perkahwinan kini sekarang ni semua will end up in divorce. Now, second marriages it goes up to 63%. Third marriages it goes up to 78%. Dia lagi tinggi. Interesting. So like interesting like you said, orang yang kali kedua masuk pun dia tak bajet dia akan cerai pun. Walaupun statistik tu lagi tinggi. The chances of your divorce your marriage surviving, kalau 63%, that means it's only 37%. That's a very very low percentage. Kalau dia naik to 78%, tinggal berapa? 12%. Right? And for me, alhamdulillah lah, myself and my wife, I'm in my third marriage. So far, alhamdulillah, and it's been 12 years and we are part of the 12%.
Oh.
Alhamdulillah.
22%.
Oh, sorry, 22%. Correction, 22%.
Tapi lah dia kalau kita nampak trend macam tu kan, kalau orang yang sama ramai yang masih bercerai kali kedua, kali ketiga, ialah bukan nak menuding jari, tapi kita percaya kalau kita buat benda yang sama, kita jangan expect hasil yang berbeza. Kan? Maksudnya mesti ada something lah. Kalau dia jenis abusive contohnya, kan, dia bercerai, kahwin kali kedua dia abuse lagi orang tu. Sebab dia expect takkan orang nak hidup dengan dia. Kan, kalau dia tak berubah, itulah yang masuk dalam statistik tu.
Betul.
Kan, dia sorry lah, sekarang orang kata biawak hidup kan. Kahwin pertama jadi biawak hidup, kahwin kali kedua dia still maintain status sebagai biawak hidup. So what do you expect? Kali ketiga, kali keempat kan. So in order kalau orang tiada kesungguhan lah kan, maksudnya dia akan jadi yang the positive side tu lah. So
and interestingly what you just said, I also noticed that itu orang yang jadi biawak hidup. Tapi orang yang berkahwin dengan biawak hidup, lepas dia bercerai, kali kedua bila dia kahwin, dia dapat biawak hidup juga.
Dia suka biawak. Dia memang suka biawak hidup.
Sebab why they pick the same person?
Because it's not that intentionally sengaja they want to pick the same person, but it's just that it's something that they're used to. And that is what they're attracting into their life. And kadang-kadang dia mungkin akan dapat lelaki yang elok. Tapi itu satu benda yang dah kebiasaan, energy tu dia membawa balik ke relationship yang baru. Laki yang elok tu pun akan berubah jadi biawak hidup. Because kadang-kadang, contohlah kan, kalau perempuan tu after going through a particular relationship where they don't trust their husband or whatever, mungkin ada whatever cheating or whatever yang dah berlaku kan, so the level of trust tu dah hilang. Dia akan pergi to the next relationship, dia masih tak ada trust, and dia akan nampak certain things yang the new husband yang buat tu, walaupun dia elok macam mana pun lelaki tu, tapi dia, because dia ada trust issue, ada certain things yang dia buat, dia akan trigger. Dia akan start accusing. Lama-lama bila lelaki tu dengar benda tu, it's also you're basically brainwashing your husband to become that person as well. Jadi juga. So I'm a strong believer in energy. Everything is just energy. If you carry this kind of energy, you bawa ke your new relationship, it's the same energy. And that's also one of the reasons why it's necessary for you to break the cycle. There is a process that you need to do, healing, self-reflection, self-growth, so that you break that cycle, so that you don't bawa all the same baggage and energy to your new relationship.
So that's very interesting sebab I think kat My Sakina pun, when I'm thinking about few cases kan. So obviously bila kita analyse the case, one of the questions yang kita tanya ni is that your marriage ni kali ke berapa? Okay. And then the second one, your spouse marriage ni kali ke berapa? Right? And bila dia kata, oh, this is my second marriage or my third marriage and my spouse my third marriage, then we will ask further questions about tell us about your past relationship.
Very good.
Okay?
Wow.
And most of the time, kita dah boleh predict pattern yang sama. Dari segi choice of spouse, perangai lelaki tu ataupun wife dia, sebiji juga. So I have one case for example. He went through, the man, the wife cheated.
Wah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second marriage ni, he got a wife also cheated on him.
Interesting.
So the question is, okay lah, kita expect that you learn your lesson or you learn from the experience of your first marriage, and then the second marriage ni you akan pilih yang berbeza lah. Tapi macam mana pun dia pilih the same wife. And the opposite juga sama juga kepada satu kes ni di mana isteri dia first husband dia panas baran.
Okay.
Dia punya divorce. Second husband dia panas baran dan ada juga macam alcohol abuse and things like that kan.
Wow.
So dia pilih the same kind of partner kan.
It's what they used to.
Macam mana ni orang pilih jodoh?
Sebab tu Tijanah banyak pilihan. Sebab kadang-kadang dia mungkin sebab circle dia kan, sebab circle dia orang tu that type of man or woman kan. So that's the circle. Lepas tu dia create the pattern, the belief kan. Tapi dekat kalau Tijanah is a variety kan. Dia tak terhad kepada satu negeri je, tak terhad kepada satu kejaya je, tak terhad kepada satu ruang umur saja. It's a variety kan. So dia boleh dia kalau dia nak break the pattern kan, dia type dia tu dia easier lah kot. Tapi dia kena ada kesedaran dan ada ni lah untuk break the pattern dia orang punya belief tu kan.
Correct.
Kalau tak, kita tak boleh nak paksa dia orang berubah kan. Tapi
alright, ni ada data dari orang kata Jabatan Kehakiman Syariah Malaysia. Dia cakap antara 5 punca kegagalan, 5 punca perceraian dalam Islam, pasangan Islam meningkat adalah antaranya, puncanya adalah kegagalan suami atau isteri menunaikan tanggungjawab masing-masing, termasuk gagal memberikan nafkah bagi suami, bersikap kasar ataupun mendera, serta menghilangkan diri, tiada persefahaman, masalah kewangan ataupun curang. So benda ni memang orang kata antara elemen punca perceraian.
Kalau tanya saya terima tu macam tak tahu nak kata face value ke apa kan. Tapi sebabnya bila kita tanya orang, okey contohlah orang yang buat research tu tanya kan, dia tanya okey kenapa awak bercerai? Kalau dia kata jawapan pertama tu belum tentu jawapan yang tepat.
Ya, betul.
Mostly that is not the real root problem lah.
Good.
Dia orang dah kadang-kadang mungkin kalau counselling punya session tu dah kali ke berapa, last kali baru keluar. Kenapa dia jadi macam tu? So kalau saya tak tahulah researcher tu boleh research sedalam tu kan dengan population sample dia tu, dia boleh tak pastikan dia tanya sampai the root cause. Awal-awal cakap je tak ada kesefahaman, masalah kewangan.
Betul.
That's easier dia nak jawab asal jawab lah kan.
The first reason is never the real reason.
Saya nak defend sikit lah. Saya nak defend sikit yang orang yang buat research ni sebab saya tahu dia kekangan ni. Saya ada buat satu episod, saya ada seorang saya kenal ni bagi IIUM, dia buat research.
Alright.
Kekangan dia macam ni tau, sebab dia dapat daripada Jabatan Kehakiman. Okay. So bila kita seorang tu, pasangan tu nak bercerai, dia kena isi borang lah. Dia kena isi borang kan.
Sebabnya kan?
Apa sebabnya? Kalau you tahu, kalau orang isi borang tu, dia nak ala kadar isi je.
Jiwa tengah kacau.
Jiwa tengah kacau, dia tak ada masa lah. Dia nak explain betul-betul ni alasan aku and things like that kan. And I think I think on your ada podcast pun dia kata kalau lelaki tu kaki baran ke kaki pukul ke, dia takkan cakap.
Betul.
Dia akan cakap mungkin nak fast track, dia kata tidak ada kesefahaman. And that's about it. So memang kita kena mengupas lah. We have to peel the layer.
Betul.
And here's the thing, to be fair as well, orang yang jawab tu kadang-kadang dia pun tak tahu. Yang dia bagi itu je. And usually all these things that you talk about financial, you talking about husband tak bagi nafkah dan sebagainya, these are all symptoms. They're not the root cause sebenarnya. Yes, the symptom that it causes the eventually it causes the marriage to break, but I think based on my experience and working with a lot of people, I would say it comes down to two things. Every time it always comes down to two things. Number one is communication.
Okay.
Because I don't think we are taught, kita tak diajar how to communicate. Kita belajar fizik, kita belajar matematik, kita belajar sebagainya, tapi communication punya education tu kurang sebenarnya. And number one is communication is not just about communicating but also understanding what is being communicated to us as well. That's number one. Number two is growth. growth tu dah a lot of people treat their marriage as a destination. Maknanya bila I know this because I did this myself as well, and that's one of the biggest reason why my first marriage failed. Was because bila dah kahwin dah sampai. Settle lah, you know. Dia ibarat macam kita beli kereta, kita save duit gila-gila untuk beli kereta tapi kita tak ada allocation untuk servis. Marriage kena servis. Marriage requires growth.
Betul.
Every individual, everything on this planet, everything in this universe, everything grows. And anything that is not growing is dying. A tree that is not growing is dying. So kalau marriage tu pun you don't grow, you don't nurture the marriage, memang tak ada pun. So and also, are you growing together or are you growing separately? When you are growing together, then masalah kewangan ni semua benda tu semua boleh settle. Because when you're growing, your finances is going to grow. When you are growing, you're becoming a better person. Every human being comes into a marriage, semua orang ada baggage. Tak ada orang yang datang bersih dan perfect. And I think one of the biggest reason why kita masuk ke dalam satu perkahwinan ialah supaya kita boleh pergi ke next level. And I'm a strong advocate of marriage because saya memang walaupun saya cerai coach tapi I'm a very strong advocate of marriage because once you masuk dalam perkahwinan, for me it's a next level. You dapat grow because now your life becomes bigger. You are responsible for another human being. You have to look at certain limitations that you ada dalam diri you untuk you transform benda-benda tu semua. So when you're growing, your marriage will grow. And if you look at anyone who has a very successful marriage, they always have growth. Dia sentiasa ada projek baru. Laki isteri nak beli rumah baru, nak pergi holiday baru, nak buat ada je benda baru yang dia continuously growing. Bila tak grow buat benda yang sama setiap hari, lama-lama macam takkan hidup aku macam ni je. Lepas tu kita salahkan kita punya bini, kita salahkan kita punya laki. We use them as an excuse. To me that's not the thing. If you're growing, if you grow and you work on your communication, I think everything boleh settle lepas tu.
Right.
I mean, again, I don't touch on religion. If you follow the religious punya ni, kalau you also study religion, that's also growing.
Okay, let me add the religious aspect lah.
Right. Yes, please.
To growth, kan?
Yes.
So I think one of the things in My Sakinah is that we've always maintained yang kita punya service kena professional, scientific and Islamic.
Alright.
Right.
I love that.
Whatever that we do, we do, kita ambil orang kata modern day relationship punya science, but we make sure that it's always aligned dengan Quran dan Sunnah.
And tak bercanggah.
Tak bercanggah. Tak bercanggah. Right. So one of the reasons is that kita lihat a very famous verse kan, surah Ar-Ra'd that Allah tidak akan mengubah nasib satu kaum kecuali sehingga dia mengubah diri sendiri kan. So what does that mean? So actually it also applies to marriages. To husband and wife. Kan? When I also go around, I ask my sheikh and everything like that for marriage advice. He gave me a very simplistic marriage advice. Kata how a marriage works well is very simple. The husband grows and the wife grows.
Alright.
And together you will find harmony.
So
bila dia cakap tu, honestly I tak faham. Cakap simple macam tu kot. Kita tak puas hati kan. Kita tak boleh tak puas hati lah, right? Tapi there's a lot of truth in that. So that's why macam My Sakinah kita punya mantra is we can help you strengthen and save your marriage even if you're the only one trying.
Alright.
Okay, because we know that dalam isu rumah tangga ni bila ada krisis susah nak dapatkan kedua-dua yang datang. Right? So we use that surah daripada surah Ar-Ra'd tu, okay? And that is the key, is that the husband just has to think about how dia nak jadi suami yang terbaik, the best versions of himself, so that he can present the best version of himself to the marriage and to the wife, and the wife also the same thing, to be the best version of herself, and to present her best version into the marriage, right? So dia tak boleh fikir ini hak aku, kau tak buat, ini hak kau tak buat. Itu memang recipe for disaster lah. Itu memang dia memang tak ke mana, you know. So it's very very true. So modern day science says the same thing.
Alright.
Okay. Kita punya Islamic wisdom yang is everlasting. It says same thing kan. So Allah dah sebenarnya dia dah orang kata structure how to have a good marriage. And this is one of it actually. Okay, saya mungkin nak tambah sikit lah tentang you tanya kan punca-punca perceraian kan.
Betul.
dan kita tengok macam-macam punca dia.
Betul. Banyak punca.
Banyak punca kan?
Okay. 5.
Saya sebenarnya bila kita bercakap tadi, kata kita kena kupas sikit lah what is the real reason kan. So saya nak introduce sebenarnya satu reason ni yang mungkin orang kata orang tak pandang.
Okay. Satu punca lah.
Apa punca dia lah. Okay. So kita tahu dalam rumah tangga ni sebenarnya the top 2 orang kata marker atau predictor for happy marriage kan. First adalah duit.
Alright.
Money. Okay. Money bila dikatakan okay lah, money kita boleh katakan is important untuk seorang, more for the woman. Not because dia mati duitan, sebab it represents security for the future.
Alright.
Safety, security, things like that. The other thing is kita tak tahulah dia cakap sex and intimacy. Untuk nanti saya cakap pasal intimacy ni, what I mean by sex lah. Okay. Obviously important for the man. Bukannya lelaki ni dia gila seks, tapi sex represents emotional connection untuk lelaki ni dalam to woman kan. Tapi the third indicator ni ramai tak tahu. Okay. Dia ada satu research ni sebenarnya daripada UK yang mengatakan the third indicator for happy marriage adalah domestic duty.
Oh, contohnya?
Kerja rumah.
Oh, okay, kerja rumah.
Cuci pinggan, basuh baju, sapu rumah.
Alright.
And things like that. Okay. I say that by research, sebab kita dah kaji benda ni, bila tiada kesefahaman tu, banyak dia berpunca daripada rasa tak puas hati dan tak adil tentang tugas rumah.
Alright.
Okay. Why I say that kan? Kalau kita tengok sekarang ni, kebanyakan isteri dah bekerja. Betul. Kita tengok data statistik, we look at the workforce lah. We look at the workforce in Malaysia, both workforce and juga daripada kadar perempuan yang dalam universiti. Okay. So mostly tertiary education semua banyak perempuan, and the workforce pun banyak perempuan. Alright. Right. So now you actually have a situation di mana perempuan ada bekerja. Berkejaya lah. Okay. Tetapi lelaki berkejaya, okay fine. Kita berkejaya lelaki biasalah. Lepas tu kita balik rumah, kita nak rehat, betul tak? So kita ada satu shift. Alright. We work at work and we have shift. Perempuan sebenarnya sekarang ni ada fenomena ni 3 shift. Okay, the 3 shift for a modern woman today. Right. Shift pertama dia bekerja kat luar. Betul. Shift kedua, lepas dia bekerja dia balik, ada tugas rumah. Alright. So that's the physical work.
Basuh baju semua.
Basuh baju, mostly masak, jaga anak and things like that. So kebanyakan tugas rumah dan juga childbearing jatuh kepada perempuan. Isteri. Okay. The third shift actually is the mental load. Alright. Dia kena plan apa nak masak, dia kena fikirkan pasal groceries, dia kena organize semua tu. Okay. If you tengok the data, kalau you tengok lah, kalau you kaji balik apa tentang wanita complain kenapa, right? Dia akan rasa dua benda ni. Alright. Dia akan menyatakan either the second shift, physical load, ataupun even the third shift, the mental load. Dia akan menyatakan dua perkara ni. So recently we did a post on Facebook, on My Sakinah punya post. Alright. 1,000 orang came in and started commenting. Kita baca kan. So I like this statement of one particular wife state. I ambil ni daripada kita post kan. Dia kata, I am a married single mom. Alright. So I was like, bila I baca tu, I was like, what does it mean?
Well said.
I was like, we know the phenomenon of single mothers, right? Yeah. But she's a married single mom. So okay lah, I went and commented. Alright. I said, wow, I mean, that's quite profound. It seems like a very lonely place. And she commented back, a very dark and lonely place.
Reality, she's not the only one, right?
Exactly.
Once you know exactly what she's talking about, she's not the only one. A lot of women are like that out there.
Yeah, I mean, you do a lot
of course, I got a lot of women. My clients mostly are women, and that's also one of the tragedy, because women are now seeing what's the purpose of being married.
Betul.
Because it's no longer a teamwork. Yeah. Because like you said, what she said was beautiful. I was like, wow, it is profound, right? It's so profound. I'm a married single parent.
Mom.
Single mom. That is really profound. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people and some men just wouldn't understand what that means. Only if you're willing to dive in and look into this.
Okey lah, kita mungkin katalah lelaki tu salah sebab tak mainkan tanggungjawab dia. Tapi mungkin kita boleh bertanya juga pada dia, adakah dia communicate kepada lelaki tu concern dia lah, yang dia penat, dia apa. Betul. Kadang-kadang dia willing je, dia buat apa. Dia tolong tak apa, saya buat. Padahal perempuan kadang-kadang apa yang dia kata dia nak, dia mungkin tak nak. Apa yang kata tak nak, dia kata nak. Dia kan complicated perempuan. So husband tanya, you nak tak tolong you malam ni? Tak apalah, you penat kan. Dia saja nak test. Takkan tak boleh fikir, aku tengah penat ni, tolonglah.
Betul.
Tapi dia kata tak nak, tak apalah, it's okay. You nak keluar malam ni, tak payah masak lah, I belanja you makan. Tak apalah bang, kita jimat lah duit. Dalam hati meronta-ronta, ini aku nak. Tapi tak nak cakap nak, kan. So, it's one of the side lah kan. So, kadang-kadang mungkinlah kita kata dalam situasi tu, ialah dia another side, sentiasa ada another side of the story. Sekarang dia kata, lelaki tak faham dia apa semua kan. Tapi isu dia ada pencegahan. Ada pencanggahan. Okey,
sila. Ada yang tanya soalan.
Right.
Mari.
Bukan tak apa kata, bukan tak apa.
Dekat sikit.
Di sini macam sebelum kahwin atau tu kita mesti dah kenal pasangan kita tu macam mana. Betul tak? So kita mesti dah tahu macam kalau dia merajuk tu macam mana karakter dia.
Yelah, dia patut kenal juga sebelum kahwin, adakah lelaki ni helpful? Adakah dia nak bahagia tanggungjawab? Dia patut kenal juga lelaki tu. Maksudnya kalau lepas kahwin dia tak boleh tolerate dengan lelaki tak nak tolong dia, maksudnya dia pun tak kenal lelaki dia. Kalau dia tak boleh buatkan lelaki dia tolong dia, maksudnya dia tak kenal lelaki dia. Kalau dia tahu lelaki tak boleh tolong dia, dia cakap minta tolong tak nak tolong, kenapa dia kahwin dengan lelaki tu? Dan kalau dia willing, dia accept, that's the guy. Ini lah lelaki yang aku akan terima. Ini lah perangai dia. Aku tahu lepas kahwin nanti itulah perangai dia. Cakap pun tak faham bahasa, tak nak dengar, tak nak tolong, kahwin juga dengan dia.
Tapi macam bias je side kat lelaki.
Okay. So no, I mean, in the day, like I want to balance this discussion lah kan. So untuk the man punya side, the husband punya side, I want to say that even as a man, kan, is that kita ada fitrah kita tau.
Betul. Right? Fitrah sebagai
man,
seorang lelaki.
You want, I mean, you are the king of your home. Kan? So men want to be admired, want to be respected. And one of the ways sebenarnya a man feels respected and admired is that when they come home, they are served. Okay, ini fitrah lelaki. Lelaki semua nak benda ni, right? That's why dalam saya baca in our case files and also comment, akan keluar lah kan. Syurga itu tidak murah, kena ada berkhidmat zauj kan. Isteri kena berkhidmat and things which is true.
Tapi itulah so, perempuan tu ada tiga benda yang diuruskan, tiga shift. So kita pun lelaki kena tolerate juga.
Betul. Kalau kita tengok macam ni sekarang ni, kalau kita tengok in the 1980s and 1990s kan, right? This didn't occur so much.
Alright.
Sebab kalau you tengok my mom and things like that kan,
semua jadi suri rumah.
Banyak housewife. Banyak housewife. So dia tak ada the first shift. Dia ada the second and third shift saja.
Betul.
So it's something that dia boleh bear, dia boleh manage, right?
Betul.
Right? Whereas and then the husband being a man and being a man, I did my first shift, I want come back, I want to feel that apa yang saya berkorban untuk family, saya cari rezeki and things like that, I feel appreciated. And the way I feel appreciated actually is very simple. I got hot food on my table, my baju is being prepared, right? My kids come back is taken care of. That's how kita feel, kita appreciated. Dan kita lagi nak bekerja keras, right? So kita akan nak, saya terang lah macam mana pun saya pun tulis, saya pun I want those things as a man, right? But right now the thing is that the woman ada this is the crux of the issue lah. Bila tengok tiada kesefahaman, like you said kan, why do I need a man? Dia bukannya isu tentang miscommunication. Dia isu sekarang ni perempuan tu terbeban. Macam nak katakan, the concept of a married single mom, right? She is in a lonely dark place. When she is in a lonely dark place for too long, dia keluar.
Betul.
I got few other comments in our Facebook comment. I tanya dia, is it one of the issue yang kenapa you dengan your husband bercerai tentang isu tugas rumah? Kata yes.
Okay, saya nak cuba ambil tu, kita tarik kepada point of view kita tadi lah. Let's see, saya tanya kan. Okay, sekarang
spicy.
Wanita tu dia kata single married mom kan. Okay, dia sedih. Mungkin kita rasa simpati pada dia. Okay, dia rasa mungkin depressed, anxiety, whatever, depression apa semua dia alami. Okay, soalan saya, contohnya dia file divorce, dia bercerai, masuk dalam statistik. Sekarang, you rasa happy tak kalau dia bercerai? Tak. So you nak biarkan dia dalam keadaan yang sedih, you rasa simpati, husband tak faham, you lagi suka dia daripada dalam keadaan macam tu?
Saya tak suka lah.
Sebenarnya dia suka. Which one yang suka sekarang? Dia dah karakter mesti for many years kan. Dia dah terpaksa meluar dan dia bersetuju sangat dark place bagi dia. So bayangkan sekarang dia nak keluar daripada dark place kepada macam restart hidup dia. Dia keluar dunia yang cerah. Kan dia boleh melangkah, dia boleh fly, dia tak ada apa, dia boleh decide life dia. So you happy tak?
Okay. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we are promoting it.
Betul. Yes.
One is that I'm saying that I'm laying down the facts and the foundation. This is what is happening today.
Yeah.
This is the reality. Now we haven't talked about what is the solution, right? What's the solution? What can we do? If you ask me, obviously I'm not happy. But the solution one is something like what Coach said, right? Which is about growth, right? And communication. Yeah, I agree with you kan.
Yeah.
Dia memang I would say that a woman does this all the time. A woman also does this all the time kan. Yeah. She says A and then she expects a man
they want us to read their minds.
Of course. Right.
And that's a reality. You have to. No, that one is that's a reality. And for guys out there, lelaki di luar sana, kalau anda nak berkahwin, you must know this. And it is not a skill that you need to acquire. It's just an understanding. You must understand that women wants you to be able to read their mind.
Betul.
Now, do you need to have that skill? I don't think so. But you just knowing that they has this requirement that they want you to read their mind, you kena correct. Don't take it as just surface level sahaja.
Betul.
Now, women on the other hand, understand this as well. We don't read your minds.
Jangan make it complicated.
Don't make it complicated, right?
Cakap je apa nak.
Kita faham itu lumrah you. You memang nak lelaki read your minds, but here's the thing. You want them to read your mind ataupun you nak benda tu berlangsung till jannah.
Yeah.
Kan, if you want to continue the marriage and whatnot, then you gotta both men and women need to lower down their egos. The temperature must be brought down. And now here's the thing. I love what you said as well. As men, we want our women to treat us as king. Obviously, yes. Then be a bloody king. If you expect your wife to work, then you're no king. You don't deserve to be served. Because you're only half a king. So therefore, you only get treated half as a king, right? But here's the thing. Here's another issue as well. And I love that you guys are here because we can also talk about religion. Men, they love to use religion. Conveniently. Kan? Bab nak kahwin 4, dia pakai religion. Tapi tanggungjawab suami, dia tak pakai pula religion. Lepas tu, apa pula? Lepas tu, man, we should be served because the religion says so. Well, bagi saya, jangan tonggang lah agama. Yang tu bagi saya tu memang tak, that is a very, it's not nice. It's really not nice, right? And I don't think it's right at all. And that is a very thing that also makes the religion, orang tengok pun orang jijik. Padahal the religion is so beautiful. It is how we abuse it. That's the problem.
So, dia dalam hadis semua kan, dia ada dua lah. Maksudnya dia ada yang macam kita lelaki boleh tunggang, so-called lah lelaki boleh tunggang, tapi dihalatkan juga. Maksudnya sebaik-baik suami yang baik, yang melayan yang terbaik lah. Melayan isteri yang terbaik kan. So benda tu kita nak score pula kat bahagian tu. Kan cubalah kita laki tu jadi yang terbaik. Memang banyaklah story orang yang dah kahwin ni, laki dia memang superb. Kan memang ada. Tapi nak dikatakan bila orang bahagia kahwin ni, dia buat apa nak cerita kat orang? Kan buat apa nak cerita kat orang? Oh, laki, ada seorang kawan wife saya lah, dia lupa cara nak isi minyak. Dia kena call. Satu hari kena, sebabnya husband dia pastikan tangki tu penuh. Saya fikir, ya Allah, belajar PhD kawan dia, doktor, isi minyak tak kerti, dia kena call. Macam mana isi minyak nak katakan tu pampered.
Kawan you dengar podcast ni tak?
Tu pampered tau. Bila balik rumah, husband dia akan kemas rumah TikTok. Dia kata dia nak cuba kemas tapi tak sampai level laki dia. Laki dia akan pastikan semua. Tak nak katakan the nice side, laki yang baik, perempuan yang baik ke, memang ada. Tapi sekarang macam hari topik kita dimomokkan dengan perceraian 52,000 orang. Okay, that's very negative lah. Maksudnya negatif, betul lah benda tu tak elok. Tapi bagaimana kita nak imbangkan benda tu? Apa bukti yang nak imbangkan? Kan? Dan benda tak wujud. Itu yang menjadikan orang nak kahwin pun ragu-ragu. Orang dah kahwin pun rasa skeptikal. Boleh tak aku hadapi benda ni? Adakah aku boleh survive? Kan? So itu saya tanya tadi, happy tak happy memang lah. Takkan nak kata orang happy bercerai. Tapi nak katakan bila tengok data tu, there's banyak lagi story di sebaliknya.
Right.
Kan banyak lagi story. Bukanlah semua orang bercerai dia sedih. Banyak lagi orang bercerai dia boleh bercerai pun dengan cara baik, co-parenting, lepas tu jumpa pun jodoh yang lebih baik, dua-dua happy. So nak katakan bila kita interpret data tu, banyak lagi story dalam tu. Alang-alang saya dah cakap ni, nak kata contohlah kita kata okey, data meningkat 52,000 orang bercerai yang 53 kan. Tapi in term of percentage contohlah kan, orang kahwin pun meningkat. Kan, orang kahwin meningkat, orang bercerai takkan nak menurun drastik. Kan, contoh dekat jalan raya semakin banyak kereta, tiba-tiba kita expect kadar kemalangan menurun, tak kena lah kan. So nak katakan in term percentage wise mungkin berkadaran terus tapi kurang sikit kan. So banyak lagi data tu kalau kita crunching, kalau di sebalik cerita tu ada banyak lagi lah. So kita boleh terlampau present data tu dan kita rasa negatif sangat, perkahwinan macam tak susah dah nak bahagia, bila bercerai pun porak-poranda, kita rasa kesian ke orang bercerai. So there's banyak lagi cerita di sebalik tu lah.
So kalau dari artikel ni, apa yang kita boleh simpulkan? Mungkin Tiljana, Maisakina ataupun coach cerai.
Saya nak add in satu lagi lah. To talk about that kan, macam how can we solve this kan, how to make it better kan. So the reason saya utarakan isu tentang domestic duties ni kan. Sebab the research daripada UK, they did a research lah ni kan. Kenapa sebab orang bercerai, right? So orang yang cited isu tentang tugas rumah ni, right? Hampir-hampir sama dengan ratio orang yang bercerai sebab curang.
Oh, macam mana dia boleh masuk pula elemen
so
curang?
Imagine, katakan 100 orang, dia kata dia survey bercerai, apa sebab dia, kan? 30% stated tentang tugas rumah.
Alright.
Another 30+% stated pasal ada pasangan dia curang.
Alright.
So bila pasangan tu curang is harder to solve, saya rasa isu tidak kesefahaman tentang kerja rumah ni easier to solve.
Alright.
So good.
Easy, right? It's not as hard as curang. Kalau I don't know about you do the cases, but kat Maisakina kalau ada kes curang datang kat kita, I cakap ada minimum setahun for a chance for you to rebuild your marriage if it's possible. Right? But I feel that kalau you ada tentang isu tidak kesefahaman, kan? Kalau isu ni adalah about domestic duties, I think it's solvable, and those divorces are regrettable. Because sebenarnya dua-dua orang sebenarnya, pasangan suami isteri tu, they are actually very decent human beings as an individual. Kalau cakap dengan dia seorang, dia ikhlas, si suami tu kerja keras, things like that, just wants to be appreciated. The wife pun sayang kat family dia, buat kerja rumah and things like that, also wants to be acknowledged and appreciated. Dua-dua actually. So to me those cases kita kena solve.
Dan bila you cakap pasal domestic duties ni, I ingat 5 love language. Dia kan satu act of service kan. Dan saya buat test ni dengan wife kan, dan kita orang contradict lah. Daripada situ baru kita tahu selama ni kita communicate dalam bahasa berbeza. Macam saya cakap Cina, dia cakap India. Maksudnya saya punya saya punya love language yang lain. So saya ingat itu love language dia, saya bagilah. Saya bagi dengan harapan dia bagi saya balik. Saya dah bagi, saya dah tunjukkan saya sayang dia. Dia patut tunjuk dia sayang saya. Tapi love language itu lain. Saya rasa apa yang saya suka dia suka, so saya bagi. Dia tak suka benda tu, dia suka benda lain.
Even when it comes to sex as well, our language when it comes to sex, men and women, their language when it comes to sex is also very different. Why we need sex, why women need sex, and how we use sex as well, it's also very different. Berbeza sebenarnya.
So benda ni kalau berterusan kita assume je lah, aku dah bagi, dia tak bagi balik pada aku. So miscommunication yang kita nampak kecil tapi berlarutan bertahun-tahun jadi lain lah. So as simple as ambil self punya quiz tu, kita orang ambil dah tahu dah dia language dia apa, dia language saya apa, dan kita orang bagilah kan. Then it's a very betul-betul satu benda yang
and these
besar.
are things that we want to bring to the surface sebenarnya. We want to speak about it. And it's interesting how we all are talking about how the divorce rate is alarming and stuff. Well, of course it's no surprise that the cerai coach will say that to me it's not alarming at all. And like you said, because lagi banyak perkahwinan, lagi banyak divorce. And why is divorce bad? I think some divorces should be celebrated, but some divorces should not. Some divorces are tragedies. And tragedies are the ones where people don't work on it, there's no commitment, and that one we can probably consider as failure. Although I don't like to label anything as failure, because every successful human being, every really successful man on the face of the planet, dia akan tahu yang dia sukses sebab dia banyak failure. Lagi successful you are, maknanya you lagi banyak jatuh. Sama juga macam naik basikal. Mana ada orang terus naik basikal terus hebat, kan? So kalau kita jatuh basikal, adakah itu satu kegagalan? Bukan. Kita bangun balik, kan? So bagi saya, divorce is also another opportunity untuk kita bangun balik. And this is also how I view my relationship with my wife as well. Every night when it ends, before we go to sleep, my relationship with her ends. I won't call it a divorce, but habis. Besok I renew a relationship with her. So it is always renewal, it's always reset, right? So therefore, when you look at divorce and people say it's a failure, why must you look at it as a failure? Why can't you say, hey, I had a very successful marriage. It came to an end. It came to an end. And I think we need to be able to normalize that. Where we acknowledge and stuff that, kadang-kadang we grow apart. Kadang-kadang we meet a person. Walaupun orang yang bekerja dengan kita pun, dia tak duduk dengan kita selama-lamanya juga. Dia pun nanti nak cari kerja tempat lain dan sebagainya. So when we are growing, there are times where we will grow. Macam pokok pun dia ada branch out. Mula-mula dia datang satu. Tapi apa yang saya tak boleh terima ialah bila perceraian tu, like women for example who are snowflakes. Oh, sikit-sikit tak boleh je, nak cerai. Yang tu taklah. So I think if we are going to dive deeper, we need to know cerai mana yang cerai betul, cerai mana yang cerai ngada-ngada.
Betul.
Yang cerai ngada-ngada tu, that one we should vilify it. That one's not right. Yang mana yang cerai betul, then okay, dah habis. Okay lah. Berpisah cara elok.
Okay, saya nak mencelah sikit lah kan tentang bercerai ni. So, kita kat Masakinah ni, we are not against cerai.
Okay, tidak menggalakkan.
We're not against it sebab kalau kita tengok dari segi Islam pun, kita dalam Quran ni kita ada satu surah, surah At-Talaq. Kan? Dan dari segi Islam pun bercerai ni adalah satu orang kata rahmah ataupun mercy daripada Allah, kan, di mana kalau ada pasangan tu dalam satu marriage yang toxic ke, mentally abusive ke, dia ada jalan keluar.
Okay, ada solution dia lah.
Ada solution dia. Okay, ada solution dia, kan. So, however, kita dekat Masakinah, apa yang kita nak perjuangkan is not against cerai completely. It's the high divorce rates. That is our mission sebenarnya. Okay, it's a high divorce rate sebab saya percaya when kita ada high divorce rates, kita ada banyak societal punya issues. It causes a lot of societal issues. Children go through, marriages yang that break up. From even like we can go maybe in a different podcast about environmental, economic, governance. So dia banyak, right? Ini saya punya hypothesis lah. Ni bukan research back. Okay, so right now kalau kita tengok dari segi, we talk about some numbers, some crude numbers, kan? Kalau kita compare ratio orang bercerai dengan orang berkahwin, roughly on that year, we see almost like a 30 to 40% divorce rate lah. Okay, just compare the number of people berkahwin dengan ni. I believe we will have a strong society when we have a single digit divorce rate. Okay, which is about 7%. So
less than 10.
Let's say on average 150,000 pasangan berkahwin setiap tahun. I'm looking at 10,000 or below 10,000, 9,000. I think that is acceptable because you're right. Some marriages patut bercerai.
Mungkin ada masalah dengan pasangan.
Masalah pasangan. Ada satu orang kata pendakwah ni quite famous. Dia bertanya lah, dia kata kalau ada seorang tu bekerja sebagai pemanalah CEO pun, kalau CEO tu tak buat tugas, dia kena dipecat.
Betul.
Suami pun dia kata kalau dia tak buat tugas dia sebagai dia patut dipecat.
Betul.
So I won't say that lah, kan? I'm not against divorce. I think divorce, you're right. Some cases should be, but I think the divorce rate is too high sebab ada yang gada-gada. Kan?
Yang gada-gada tu kita nak reduce.
Betul.
Bukan reduce, kalau boleh kita nak buang terus.
Sebelum dia berkahwin ni, mengada tu masa nak cari jodoh tu sebenarnya. Kenapa mengada ni saya sebab kalau masa Sakinah, kalau orang kalau bercerai less than a year, kita tak tanya. I don't ask what happened in the marriage. What happened before. Masa you nak cari jodoh.
Kalau saya tanya juga, cari jodoh kat mana? Saya tanya tu.
Til jannah ke til jahannam?
Saya nak tahu. Dia cari tak kat til jannah? Saya nak tahu. Dan kalau betul data sampling dah cukup banyak, dan kita boleh tengok okey yang bercerai ni daripada mana jumpa jodoh. Berapa banyak yang daripada online, berapa banyak yang offline, berapa banyak daripada tempat kerja, berapa banyak daripada tempat-tempat lain lah. Dan berapa pula success rate dia orang, dating site apa pula.
Kalau macam dekat Tijana ada bagi tahu risiko berkahwin akan berlaku perceraian dan sebagainya, ataupun semua syurga. Dekat Tijana kita sentiasa educate user kita kan. Ada banyak many different angle, many different type yang kita orang highlight kan. So antara benda yang kita orang selalu highlight adalah when people say no, we say next. Okay? Maksud dia when people say no ni sama ada orang tu macam tak layan dia sangat ke, ataupun family mak macam tak restu sangat ke kan. So kita kata kalau ada apa-apa yang orang macam nampak ada cabaran, macam banyak halangan sikit, tak payah nak paksa sangat diri. Kan paksa desperate juga, nak juga kan. Tak apa, when people say no, we say next kan. Sebabnya orang yang banyak renyah bagi ni, mungkinlah mak dia kata nak jenis-jenis ni kan. Tak apa, biar mak dia akan jumpa calon terbaik untuk anak itu. Kita move on, kita akan jumpa calon terbaik untuk kita dan family kita. Itu antara benda yang kita orang ni lah kan. Tapi tak rasa macam Tiljana ni dia orang kata boleh meningkatkan kadar statistik perceraian sebab menggalakkan kan perkahwinan. Lepas tu menggalakkan bercerai pula.
Tak, kita orang dah galakkan untuk maksudnya dah galakkan untuk cari yang betul-betul yang kita rasa selesa dan serasi kan. Sebabnya kita orang banyak pilihan. Ramai tau. So kenapa dia nak settle down dengan orang yang dia ragu-ragu kan, orang yang macam tengok pun ada banyak itulah ini kan. Dia kadang-kadang mak tak suka. Tapi kata tak apa, kalau macam mak tak suka, kadang orang teruskan juga sebab dah lama kenal kan. Fikir tak apa, nanti dah kahwin berubah kan. Tapi dekat Tijana nak kenal orang baru tak ada masalah pun. Tapi dekat luar, bayangkan kita dah kenal seorang tu 2-3 tahun. Bawa jumpa family tak suka. Apa kita nak buat? Sayanglah kita 3 tahun 4 tahun takkan nak berpisah. Kita teruskanlah, tak apalah kita ni.
But you think there's a problem sebab bila dah ada banyak choice. Katakan saya punya rumah tangga, saya kahwin setahun tak best. Tak apa lah, aku masuk Tijana. Banyak tu 10,000 orang aku boleh choose lah kan. Isn't that, do you think that's a problem?
Bagi saya tak lah. Sebabnya dia macam ni lah. Dia jumpa kat mana pun, benda basically is kita akan first step tu je berbeza. First step je berbeza tau. Maksud orang tanya jumpa dekat mana? Okay, Tijana jumpa kat ni kan. Tapi the second step dia kena buat benda yang sama tempat lain juga. Dia buat due diligence. Dia kenal family kan. Dia kenal merisik bertunang kahwin apa semua, sama step dia. Cuma dekat Tijana ni kita mempermudahkan untuk dapat lebih banyak variety berdasarkan apa yang kita suka, kita selesa.
Ada ke orang nak cari jodoh isteri kedua, isteri ketiga, keempat?
Memang ada, tapi kita tak terima lah.
That's so cool.
Baru tahu. Menggempar kan.
You don't do that Kalau yang dah berkahwin you tak terima
Tak terima.
Tapi macam mana nak
I respect that. Wow.
Kita punya admin kira soccer professional lah kan, sebab dia buat kerja tu setiap hari. Orang kata tengok ikan dah tahu jantan betina. Kalau dia review profile tu, dia dah tahu dah basic kalau ada apa-apa yang red flag ke apa, dia dapat detect lah. Tapi in case kalau dia terlepas, contoh dia cari bini kedua, isteri kedua lah kan, dia terlepas, dia tak lama dalam tu. Sebab apa? Kita macam ada macam satu community yang help each other. So kalau seorang dah kena, dan kalau kita kenal seorang-seorang,
you will weed them out lah basically. The community also will weed them out.
Diorang boleh bagi feedback kita orang macam-macam tempat. Dia boleh WhatsApp kita orang, ada form, kita orang buat live siang malam, cakap kat tu. Kalau ada apa-apa problem, ada apa-apa isu yang diorang tak selesa, diorang boleh cakap. So daripada situ diorang takkan kena lama.
So cool.
Dan juga kita orang pun, sistem kita orang boleh detect lah benda-benda, apa benda yang macam unusual, benda unethical yang berlaku dalam portal, kita orang dapat detect dan kita akan siasat dan
I like what you well the thing that you asked, and I just want to add. You tanya, isn't it a problem now that there's something like Tiljana 10,000 orang? Aku can just give up lah on my my marriage and stuff. Well, swipe swipe je kan. Now I think in almost everything in life, any good tool can also be a weapon for disaster. Right? Facebook, social media, Tinder, and then even AI, for example. It's a beautiful tool, but it can also be weaponized. Pisau, beautiful tool, boleh potong ikan, boleh potong ayam.
Boleh jadi weapon.
It can also be a weapon. So I think even for that matter as well, Tiljana, beautiful tool, but if people want to weaponize it, I think maybe it's the people who are married that needs to be educated rather than vilifying.
Do you know what I read somewhere? They kata which is the biggest dating site in the world right now?
Yeah.
You know?
No idea.
Instagram.
Oh, Instagram. Yeah. True.
They said
Betul.
it is the biggest dating site on the planet.
Banyak success rate.
So you talk about all these like, husband and wife, like I said, because in my time, I only had access to maybe my neighborhood girl, whoever that is my neighborhood, and tengok macam naik basikal macam cun macam, okay kan. Mina ni duduk kat jalan ni ataupun in front of my school.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on any dating apps before?
Of course.
You have?
I've been. I have to do research for.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But it wasn't for the purpose of your own consumption, tak benar lah.
Okay lah, ada lah. I have to.
Platform yang mana?
How many years have you're married, right?
Right now, no.
Oh, okay. So, okay. I never had the opportunity of ni.
Yeah.
Not that I regret whatever, tapi cuma all this existed after.
Correct.
I was
I
married.
had to experience the before and after. I get to see the difference of the different world lah. Prior to all these dating sites and this one. So it's a very jarring experience lah. Memang sangat berbeza.
Okay. That's interesting. Have you been on of course, obviously, because you create one.
Yeah.
But before you created that, have you ever been on a... So you berkahwin sebelum ada the existence ke ataupun tak pernah pergi?
Benda tu dah wujud tapi saya tak gunakan lah. Saya tak gunakan.
Interesting.
So coach tak rasa benda ni kompleks dan menyusahkan as a coach cerai? Benda ni je lah
Soalan yang bagus. Boleh elaborate sikit lah. What do you mean? What makes it complex?
Yalah, kompleks sebab macam-macam kan. Dia kenal kat dating apps, dia tak kenal sama sendiri. Lepas tu ada barrier. So orang kata fake kan. So dia kenal kat dating apps, dia cakap dia ni owner of the business. Sekali rupanya IT man.
Tapi benda ni kalau dia bukan dating app pun, sebelum ada zaman dating app kita boleh tengok movie tahun 80-an, tahun 70-an, scammer macam-macam jenis scammer dah ada pun. Dia tak perlu ada such sophisticated tools for them to dulu pun dia orang dah boleh menipu dah pun. Dia dress up in suit and whatnot, padahal kerja lain macam je kan. Dia tak jumpa melalui dating app. Masa dia jumpa tu dia ni, I think human beings have always been the same anyway, regardless of whatever the tools may be throughout history. Maybe it makes it a bit more convenient for people to scam people, to cheat people or whatever, but bagi saya I always go back to I always go back to communication and growth. When you're growing and stuff, you're always... I'll give you a story, right? This particular client of mine. She came to me. She's a very close friend of mine. Dia datang untuk bercoaching sebab dia dah tak ada kerja sebenarnya.
Okay.
And sejak COVID dia dah tak bekerja. Dia ada buat odd job sini sana. Dia buat insurance dan sebagainya.
Alright.
So dia datang untuk coaching dengan saya. Dia kata, so I told her, why do you come and join me? I teach you how to create income and manifest income every month. She said, okay, come. So dia datang. Mula-mula dia skeptical. Dia kata, I tak ada, I ada duit simpanan je. Nak bayar you punya fees semua. Saya tak apa. Let me come and help you and teach you how to manifest money. So 2, 3 bulan, 4 bulan, she started manifesting money. She said, wow, this manifestation stuff works. The techniques and stuff yang you bagi, I love it, it works. I said, cool. What do you want to do now? What's next for you? Dia kata, next, I want to manifest a beautiful relationship, a really, really good relationship. I said, okay. Dia dah berkahwin. I said, okay, so what is it that you want? Saya nak husband saya jadi orang lelaki yang lebih jantan. Saya nak husband saya be the breadwinner because I'm the breadwinner, dia cakap.
Alright.
And saya nak husband saya jadi lebih ambitious. So saya cakap dengan dia, husband you bukan duduk depan I, yang duduk depan I you.
Yeah.
I can only work with you. So again, surah Ar-Ra'd kata 13 surah Ar-Ra'd ayat 13 kan bagi tahu that Allah hanya akan merubah keadaan sesuatu kaum or anyone for that matter once you have changed. So I said, when you change, everything will change. So I said, why don't we continue working on yourself first?
Alright.
So continue working on yourself. So she did that. She started working and stuff. Minggu kedua, saya punya coaching dengan dia setiap minggu. Minggu kedua lepas tu dia datang, dia jumpa saya, you know what? I'm starting to see my husband differently. I said, what do you mean? Saya sedar sebenarnya dia yang beli groceries.
Alright.
Dia yang uruskan barang-barang rumah. Kalau dia tak buat macam tu, macam mana saya nak pergi kerja?
Yeah.
How are we gonna ni? So he is actually showing up as a man. I said, good.
Okay.
So let's continue that. Minggu keempat dia hantar saya message. My husband just lost his mini market.
Alright.
Sebab dia dekat apartment bawah dia ada satu minimarket tu. Management tarik balik. My husband lost minimarket. I said, so macam mana apa dia nak buat? Sekarang ni dia tengah cari kerja, he's suddenly more ambitious now.
Very good.
When you change, Allah will step in.
Yeah.
Banyak orang bila dia datang jumpa saya, dia bercerai ke apa ke, dia datang dia complain pasal husband dia complain pasal bini dia. Saya complain pasal husband you, bini you, apa, you can't change that. But you can change yourself. So the job is when you change yourself, everything will change. So I told her, before that I told her 2 things will happen when you change. Number 1 is when you change, your energy and vibration is going to go to a certain level, because right now where you are, that is the perfect husband for you. Allah dah tetapkan itulah perfect. Kalau husband you pukul you pun, itu perfect husband untuk you. I'm sorry to say this, for some women, dia pukul saya, you saying that this, yes, this is the perfect husband for you, so that you transform and you become better. It is a gift Allah bagi kat you. Yang pukul saya tu Allah bagi kat saya. Betul. Ya, itulah yang Allah bagi kat awak. Kalau awak benci dia, maknanya awak benci Allah. Sanggup tak benci Allah? I'm not saying that you're supposed to love him. I'm saying that you're supposed to raise yourself, grow and become a better person. When you raise your energy, what will happen is that your husband will also raise his energy to match your frequency. Kalau dia tak tahan, dia akan belah. Kalau dia tak belah, Allah akan remove him from your space. Then there will be this thing called law of vacuum. A good man will come in to match your energy. So if something is not working in your life, stop blaming other people, work on yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think balik kepada
our discussion.
Balik kepada our discussion.
Coach, saya nak tanya coach. Ni ada kira coach kalau buat coaching ada manual lah. Ini buku ke Kama Sutra?
Imran tanya benda lain pula ni.
Position.
Oi. So this just to share, this is actually a premarital discussion. I actually created this as a lead magnet.
Alright.
Untuk sesiapa sahaja yang di luar sana yang memerlukan dan saya sangat-sangat sarankan. And I created this masa awal-awal saya jadi coach tu, saya fikir banyak orang duk cerai ni semua. Exactly like what Encik Zafrul mentioned as well. Kalau baru setahun tu kita nak tanya apa jadi sebelum they got together kan. So I realized that people are not communicating. And satu lagi, banyak orang bila dia berkahwin, kalau kita tengok seperti biasa lah kan, when 2 people come together, a successful marriage is a marriage yang sentiasa ada projek baru.
Betul.
And
ada progress lah.
Ada progress. And almost all marriages have one successful project. Selalunya. And that's the wedding. So the wedding becomes a successful project. Lepas dah habis wedding apa? Ada pula buat anak pula, ada projek.
Buat anak.
Okay. Dah habis buat anak apa pula?
Besarkan anak.
Besarkan anak. Okay, tapi bagi setengah orang lambat nak besarkan anak, tak ada projek baru. Mungkin you want to buy a new car, maybe you want to buy a new house. So when there's always a new project, you're always growing. You're always growing together. Kan? Macam saya dengan isteri saya, one of the things that we do is we always work together. She's always helping me dan sebagainya. Where I want to go, she supports me. My goal becomes her goal. Her goal becomes my goal as well. So we're always growing. She will always share with me, okay, this is the next place we want to go to. I say, I suka ni, okay, jom, let's go together. So there's always. And we've also tried to have our own anak, kami cuba IVF dan sebagainya, and we also come to realize sebenarnya no, it's not meant to be. Bila tak jadi tu saya terima. Itu memang dah ditetapkan oleh Tuhan. Saya terima. Then I realize, okay fine, next kita tunggu cucu. Because my son is also already an adult now.
Okay.
So next, so there's always a next project, something to look forward to. Together we do things together. So bila ada sentiasa ada project, dia ada kesinambungan dia tau. So that's also one of the reasons why I created this workbook, because the person that you're going to get married to is you discuss. So take some time. It could take about an hour for you to sit down with your partner, you discuss. So there will be 18 topik dalam ni, 15 topik. So antara contoh-contoh topik, we'll talk about your personal values. Saya ada dalam bahasa Melayu dan juga dalam bahasa English. Terima kasih ChatGPT. Dan saya juga ada, so there's things about your family goals, your future goals, your finances. Sebab kadang-kadang finances, tak ada orang, kadang-kadang bila kita berkahwin dengan seorang, kita cakap ke pasal finance? Tak. Itu satu. Kadang-kadang kita kahwin orang, kita tanya ke berapa orang anak nak? Raya rumah siapa nanti? Kadang-kadang benda-benda ni semua you don't discuss about this. Sebelum kahwin, better you do all this. Sit down. And then also we got question as well. Polygamy ya ke tidak? We ask, you have to ask all this kind of question because a lot of women out there lepas tu meroyan. Oh, husband saya nak cakap, sebelum kahwin you tanya tak husband you?
Dia setuju.
Because itu memang hak dia.
Yeah.
How you gonna argue? It's in the religion. Itu hak dia untuk berpoligami. You setuju ke tak? Kan? Kalau tak setuju, then don't. Tapi saya respect Til Jannah memang tutup pintu terus.
Yep. Saya untuk pasangan yang nak kahwin, I had this similar conversation dengan last Sunday. I'm also a coach, tapi I coach bola lah.
Seriously?
Yeah, I do. So,
budak-budak?
Kind of adults lah. Young adults lah. Weekend coach, just a social coach, right?
So cool.
So, and then we were makan lepas the game, and then one of my players, he was going to get married, and dia kata, coach, ini rumah tangga ni tahu kan? Yeah. So what advice you have for me?
Yeah.
So I totally agree with this. I think you should. And then I think Til Jannah pun ada 100 questions that you have to go through. Cuma I cakap, okay, do that. Tapi then I ask you tak pernah kahwin kan? Tak pernah. Your wife pernah kahwin, your future wife pernah kahwin? Tak pernah. Okay. You do this, you note it down. Tapi you have a caveat or a condition to say that I reserve the right. I think you should have an agreement that we will revisit this.
Yes.
6 months or 1 year after we get married. Sebab right now,
like a review.
Like a review, right? Because right now you can say, I want all this, but you haven't been married. You tak pernah masuk kepada
betul sangat
perkahwinan, right? And then you can only assume what is going to be like.
Reality berbeza.
Once you dah married, then you get the real situation, the real scenario. You get to experience it. You get the real scenario, and then because what happens is that dia dah kahwin, okay, we agree on this. And then you dah married, and then suddenly you go into the marriage and you feel that, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know it's going to be like this. I want to change my mind right now.
What did I agree to?
You agreed? Wait, hold on. We have it on paper. We have it in the workbook. We agreed this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that the one that get married is that they have to discuss this, tapi set a date. 6 months or maximum 1 year. We will revisit. We both have an opportunity to change it.
To add to your point, right? Even if you don't talk about marriage, someone who sets a goal, your 5-year goal back then dah tak sama pun hari ni.
Betul.
Kan? Lagi-lagi bila you get into a marriage, it becomes more complex. And I totally agree. Revisiting it is yes. Maknanya kena selalu buat audit.
Betul.
Correct.
Kan? So this, by the way, this premarital workbook, although it's written as premarital workbook, but I also encourage people who are married to also get a copy of this from me. Just get in touch with me. I'll give you a copy and sit down with your partner and do it together. Buat sama-sama.
To me, the first milestone is that, let's say a year after your marriage, okay, then you get into the experience. You know what is it like. The second review kena datang after you get your first child.
Okay.
Because your dynamics of a marriage changes completely.
Yeah, betul.
Your goals become different, your dynamics, your relationship. Wow. Dah ada orang ketiga dah tu.
Orang ketiga.
Nak lain. Komitmen lain.
Betul.
Agak kompleks juga. Okay guys, terima kasih kerana menonton kita punya podcast pada hari ini. Dan kita akan sambung dengan podcast episod yang kedua pada minggu hadapan. Terima kasih.